previously doing was not working and you haven't passed the NCLEX, a remediation reset just might be the thing that you need. If you want change, you're going to have to do something different the next time that you take your NCLEX, and remediation might be just what you have been missing. So this session for the V2 members, I want to clear up what is remediation, how ReMar remediation is much beneficial to those who have failed NCLEX in the past, and you're stuck in a cycle of just trying to study content again, trying to go back to memorizing things, and you actually have not figured out why you weren't successful the last time you took NCLEX. That is where remediation comes in. And so this is our Q&A all about remediation. My name is Professor Regina MSN, and I am the #1 NCLEX instructor on the planet. And I represent the ReMar nurse community right here. And so if you have been struggling with content, if you've been struggling with context, this remediation Q&A is going to help you tremendously. So why don't you join me for this class? And what I want to say is good morning to everyone. Think about this idea. What if passing NCLEX didn't feel like a constant struggle? What if it wasn't as difficult as it felt like, as it seemed like? It could be time for ReMar remediation. And the reason why I say this is because with remediation, after you fail NCLEX, sometimes you feel like studying more, but studying more doesn't fix the problem. If you are, #1, you're answering questions, but you're not fixing how you think, you're reviewing content, but you're still repeating those same errors, or you don't really understand why you keep getting questions wrong. Is that anybody in here? Repeat test takers? And so what happens with remediation is it's the place you need to go. And remediation is much different from just a general content review where you are just you may be doing readiness exams, you may be watching lectures, you may be taking notes, but the issue is you don't have the insight into yourself. It's not about you taking on more. It's about you pausing and slowing down. And so I'm glad that you're here because this is a cycle that many great nursing students get into. And I want us to stop the cycle. Stop guessing what to study. Stop changing strategies every week. One week you're studying from a book, then you're watching Mark K. Then somebody on TikTok said that they passed by downloading a PDF. And so you're begging for the PDF, right? And you're still all the while wondering, what am I doing? What am I doing right? What am I doing wrong? Right? That's what happens when you don't have structure. Okay. And so what remediation feels like, I'm talking about remediation, and I'm going to say this in the beginning, remediation does not feel good. And so for some nursing students, that right there is a deterrent. If it doesn't feel good, if it doesn't feel easy, then they don't want to do it, right? Remediation does not feel good because it slows you down. It slows you down. I'm not promising you overnight success with remediation. I'm promising you that you are going to struggle, but the struggle will be on, why am I thinking this way? What is it, right? So it feels slow. It can feel confusing at times because remediation, again, is not a typical NCLEX review where you're just, focused in on completing a section, focused in on getting a 90%, right? And so sometimes that can be frustrating. I know that. That's why I'm here right now to answer all of your questions about remediation. And honestly, you might not see the results in the first week. My remediation is a 6-week course. The first week, you may be like, what have I gotten myself into? What am I doing? Right? But the idea is that every day you show up, every day you follow the remediation guide, your brain gets stronger. Okay? Not more confused. And I know some of us, what happens is we purchase an NCLEX review and we find ourselves more overwhelmed, but we don't want to admit that we just wasted this money. And so we stick with that NCLEX review, even though we know it's not working for us. and we stick with the readiness exams, even though they leave us more confused. So I want to say, if that's you, you are free to change. Be free. Be free to say, you know what? I made a mistake. Be free to say, I'm going to go in a different direction. It's okay for you to do that. All right. I know nursing students, we're so committed to the things, but we actually need the discipline over our feelings. We actually need to have more discipline over how we feel. Because I'll tell you this, when you're preparing for NCLEX and you want to change, here's the problem with change. And this is change in anything in your life. You're going to be a nurse one day. You're going to have many opportunities once you become a nurse and get that license, right? Here's the problem with change. Change is not free. Okay? Change is not free. So when I talk about changing you in education, my program is not free. It's not a free program. When you talk about changing your health, that's not a free journey. You're gonna have to you're gonna have to buy different food, right? You're gonna have to spend a little money for that organic vegetable. When you talk about your finances, change is not free, right? And so I want you all to change, but I also want you to see the investment that it requires. Okay. All right. So remediation. You say I purchased V2 90-day. How long should I expect for the books, or should I wait to start? So if you have the 90-day course for the V2, remediation is included. So you have free remediation. The books usually ship out in 3 to 5 days. And then from there, you should start. I don't know if it's your first time with the V2, but I would wait for the study calendar. Okay. You're going to be using, you're going to get this book right here with the 90-day. Okay. And there is a study calendar. Now, this is not remediation. This is for first-time test takers. You're going to get a study calendar in the front of the book. It's going to look something kind of like this. That's your calendar. All right. Hey, good morning, Professor Regina. I used the ReMar V2 in the reset and I passed. Amazing, amazing, amazing. Right. So with remediation, it's a guided path. All right. It is literally a guided path. It's not just aimlessly studying. And I love that you said, I made a mistake. I'm putting it in the atmosphere. Put that thing out in the atmosphere. So with the V2, what are you going to get? What are you going to get? So with ReMar remediation, the structure that you're going to get comes from the foundation. And that foundation is the V2 membership. Okay. So you're going to get a full V2 membership. Remediation is going to be included on top of that. With the V2 membership, okay, I have the book and the pink. Okay, good. So with the V2 membership, you are going to get, of course, everybody gets quick facts. Okay. This is a great place to start. Love this book. This is the question and answer book. This will be important for you to review the general content. There are things that you can read about and memorize very easily, no matter how long you've been out of school, no matter if you are an RN or an LPN. Quick facts for NCLEX is for you, right? So things that I discuss for you to read in quick facts for NCLEX. Peptic ulcer disease. That's something that you don't need a lecture on. You can read about peptic ulcer disease, right? How to install ear medications. You can read on that. No lecture required. No lecture required for epiglottitis. These are things that most of the safety principles nursing students can read and handle. Now, this is just a small part of the program, all right? In addition to the quick facts, I highly recommend the videos. This is part of the full course. This is also the backbone of remediation. All right. So in the V2 workbook, this is where I do the lectured material. These are things that nursing students, even though they read about, they still struggle with. So it is much better for them to have an audio of me saying it. For example, these are things not in quick facts, okay? Because they're not quick facts. For example, the orientation for the normal versus the high-risk newborn. Let me clear that out. Okay. Orientation. Fetal heart rhythm strips. Okay. This is something that I choose to lecture on. Infant heart defects. Again, this is part of remediation because you will get on your NCLEX these topics, right? You need to know about developmental milestones. It's much easier for me to lecture you on that than it is for you to just read about it. Other principles, anything psychiatric medications, psychiatric conditions, delegation and assignment. These are all the things that I review. Blood gas interpretations, EKGs, infection control. These are all things that are part of the structure of the course that require you to watch a video lecture, okay? And so I always say these two go together, okay? If you're a first-time test taker, this is it. But because this is the remediation, this is Thursday remediation reset, I need to discuss how we do remediation with this, okay? You're still going to do this. Everybody gets this, but where does the remediation come in? Because there are some confusions. Do I do the remediation packet first and then do the books? Do I do them together? How does it work? So that's what we're going to talk about today. So everybody with the full V2 membership gets the quick facts, the student workbook, and the lectures, which have a Q bank in them, right? That's part of the V2 membership. But when you're doing remediation, you're going to get the remediation guide. And this is the PDF that you download inside of the V2. And with this guide, it will tell you how to organize the other books, plus give you additional remediation assignments. This is the one that I'm so excited about. This remediation will be approved in Florida, and we're working really hard to make sure that everybody who needs remediation knows how to use it. Okay, so I'm really excited about this. But in the guide, I want to talk specifically about what's in the guide. What makes it remediation, right? The difference between an NCLEX review is that it's going to just give you general content, but remediation is going to help you specifically find out why you didn't pass. It's going to help you work on what it is about your thinking patterns that you haven't recognized. Okay. Now, so when you open up the remediation guide, you are going to see several things. The first thing that you're going to see for the remediation guide is a new calendar. So you're going to get a new calendar with remediation because remediation requires you to slow down. So you can't do it in 4 weeks. Nobody's going to be doing this in 4 weeks. This is a 6-week process. Okay. 6 weeks is the perfect amount of time. You have to wait 45 days anyways between an exam. So why don't you use that time to really investigate why your last attempt wasn't successful? Okay. And study at the same time. The next thing that you're going to get are your specific remediation assignments. So reflection. You can't have remediation without reflection. So answering questions like, what were the common mistakes to avoid? Okay. What are you struggling with this week? We're also going to get into the challenge videos. I want you to answer those daily challenge videos because they help you stay on track. And again, it's not about you doing 100 questions a day. I don't care about that. I don't care about that, right? What I want you to do is really understand, are you progressing daily? So you're going to have, again, the rehearsing, the reflections that you have to do. You turn the page over, you got the challenge videos, and then you also will have your own assignments to do. Maybe sometimes it is creating flashcards, sometimes it's making a comparison chart, and that will depend on the week that you are in with remediation. So again, it's a very different process, okay? My goal is not for you to be confused. When you sit down and you have this guide, you'll be able to go through it. It is going to help you articulate what you will be doing and how you have to adjust your schedule. Now, another thing that we focus on during remediation these are the 5 reasons the students failed the NCLEX. And you guys know them. If you have my remediation, you know we also discussed the remediation 5. What are the 5 reasons that students fail the NCLEX and they never figure it out if they don't do remediation? Content confusion. Okay, these are my 5. Content confusion. You failed at 85 questions. You failed at 93 questions. You failed at 95 questions. That's a content issue. The next reason, and content is something that we can address very easily because all you need to do is get that content, right? Get that content. This guide is in the V2 membership. If you have the V2 membership, this is in the file vault. It is something that you print out yourself. You can get it immediately. Once you get the V2 membership, this is right in the file vault. Go print it out. And then I send you, remember, if you get the 3-month membership, I send you these books. You can go to remarnurse.com right now if you need to sign up for remediation. So the first reason is content. The second reason is context. It's different from content. What's the difference between context and content when we talk about failing NCLEX? Content, you just don't know. You don't know the information. You don't know diabetes insipidus. You don't know plasmapheresis. You don't know. Context is, I know it, but if the situation changes, then I become confused. I get mixed up. So I know about, I know this idea of morphine reduces respirations, but if my patient has cancer and they require morphine and their respirations are already low, do I still give them morphine? You see how that, just like that little context. And so that is something that we address in remediation, is context mixed up. That's the second thing. And here's the thing. If you fail NCLEX and you have a context problem, but you are told to just study content, you won't identify the context problem. And that's how you can fail NCLEX 3 and 4 times studying really, 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 really hard. Okay. Anybody here study really, 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 really hard and you still failed NCLEX? It could be because you have a context problem. The next is wrong priority. Wrong priority. You don't understand the priority of your nursing practice in different situations. Okay. We address that. Overthinking. Overthinking is the 4th issue. And the reason why I created this program and the reason why I copyrighted this program is because there was literally nothing out there that addressed these specific issues for repeat test takers. There was not one test that I found that addressed overthinking, right? There was not one test that I found that looked at context instead of content, right? So overthinking is an issue. And then the last one that we look at is second guessing. And yes, there are assessments in the remediation course that I have that specifically address second guessing. And a lot of people think that they failed NCLEX because they second guess, but actually you don't second guess, okay? Second guessing is totally different from overthinking. Overthinking is the same as people who have content problems. People who overthink typically have an issue of content. Right. Second guessers usually know the information and they literally work to talk themselves out of the right answer. It's a different pattern. And so imagine if you knew this about yourself today. You can get into the remediation guide. You can get into the remediation course and find out if this is really your problem, like today, right? And so again, immediate access inside of the V2 membership. It's right there. There is an entire section called remediation. And the reason why I'm doing this reset for remediation specifically is because many of you have to stop and admit that what you have been doing is just a general content review, but you need remediation. And that's something that is totally different. Okay. And I appreciate the states that require remediation. Some states require this remediation. And so, the reason that they require it is because a student will waste a lot of time and a lot of energy just going and taking NCLEX over and over and over again and not ever figuring out what the actual issue is. And so where remediation can fail you is if you approach it like going all the way back to nursing school. That's not the goal of my remediation. My remediation is not to get you to go back to nursing school. You we don't want that. We don't want you to go all the way back to nursing school and start from the beginning. But we do want you to be able to identify the gaps that you have in your knowledge, because that is something that's going to follow you. That's something that's going to follow you. So again, what remediation is not, because I'm going to tell you what the price of it is. Remediation is not more questions. Okay, it's not more questions. Remediation is not giving you more content. That's not the goal. If you think that you have to study, more hours in order to pass NCLEX, you are missing it. This is not just another study program on top of everything else. You are listen, I already know that you have spent so much money trying to pass this test. I know that. That's one of the reasons why I try to keep my prices reasonable. I come on here, I do a lot of free advice. I do a lot of free, sessions and community things. I understand that. But if you really want change, I cannot change you if you don't invest into the training. You have to get the training, because context, overthinking, second guessing, these are habits that are modifiable with instruction, but they are not modifiable casually. Okay. And so the cost of ReMar remediation is $269. Okay. It's $269. That is for 3 months of remediation. And that includes everything. That includes the 2 books. That includes the quick facts. Some of you already have this. That includes the V2 workbook. That includes the lectures, all of the assessments, plus the NCLEX remediation guide. And I know some of you are thinking, well, wait, $269, that is really expensive. That's really expensive. And I hear you and I get that, especially if you already spent money on programs that did not fix the problem. But what I usually say to students is that it costs more to repeat the NCLEX exam than it does for remediation. It costs more for you to repay the fees. It costs more for you to lose time and just be stuck. Okay. Change is not free. And some of you, like I said already, you've already paid for other NCLEX programs. So you're listening to this and you already have a program in place. But remediation is not giving you content. All right. This is not replacing what you are doing in content. This is helping you to organize your thought patterns. Okay. Yeah. Right. And so for remediation specifically, I'm talking about people who've been struggling with this exam. And I know there's always a fear whenever I talk about, well, remediation costs this or remediation costs that. I know that there's a fear with being, what if it doesn't work for me? Right? What if this doesn't work for me? I do it and it doesn't work. All right. And that's what I'm trying to tell you, is that I understand you've been disappointed before. I get all of that. I'm getting the messages. I meet you. Most of my students, if I'm honest, have failed. They've done Kaplan, they've done ATI, they've done UWorld, they've done Archer. I mean, these are the students that I talk to every day. You're already disappointed. You're already feeling, sad and struggling. And so that's why I want you to know remediation isn't about you doing those same things. It's different. If information and readiness exams were the solution, you would have already passed. If all you needed to do was get a green light on a readiness exam, you would have done that, right? And so it's about correcting and it's about having clarity. All right? It's about correcting and having clarity. And so what we have done is you said yes. What we have done is for the month of, well, until Valentine's Day, we actually have the coupon code, which is LOVE, LOVE, and that takes $100 off of remediation. That takes $100 off of remediation. So this coupon code, if you go to remarnurse.com and you click, you either want the NCLEX RN course or the NCLEX PN course, you're going to get remediation included in that. And so when you put in the code LOVE, it's going to take off $100 off of remediation. And for many of you, you already have, you don't have the remediation guide, but many of you already have this book right here, right? And so if you put this book, Quick Facts, in the trash can, if you take it out of your cart, then it will make the price go down. You don't need to get this book again. So that's an additional discount for those of you who just need to upgrade to remediation, right? So that's really great. And then I do suggest you keep this physical book, because when you start remediation, I do want this book to be blank. Like if you already have written in this book, then I want you to start again. I want it to be a clean, fresh book if possible. Is the 7-day NCLEX reset still available to watch? I can't find it. No, it's not still available to watch. We will be allowing it in the membership. So we will be giving it to all of our members for this month. I think that will be my Valentine's Day gift to all of the V2 members, will be to put the 7-day NCLEX reset inside of the V2. So again, I'm not selling you a course. I really am not. I'm selling you a membership, and it's different. We have a community. There are things that are going to be specific to you. Like we will be putting the live events in for the membership. We do the Bible studies for our members. I'll be going live inside of the V2 for the members. Yeah. And so honestly, if I talk about the pricing of it, then I feel like you compare it to other things that are already out there. And this is so different. I'm talking about remediation. So when you get access to the V2 membership, whether you do a 1 month or a 3 month, I'm really recommending everybody do the 3-month membership for remediation. I think 4 weeks is really quick to do all of the remediation assignments, but it's up to you. When you get a 60 on the in-between quizzes, is that good? So the progress exams have their own scoring on it. So whatever that scoring is, and it allows you to move on, that's the score that I put for that specific exam. So you just being able to clear that exam is good enough for me for the progress exams, okay? So when you get the V2 membership and your focus is on remediation, the first thing that you are going to do when you go to that remediation is, I just want you to know about remediation. So you will watch the lecture. What is remediation? Who needs remediation? What happens when remediation is avoided? And then you'll take a remediation assessment. It's just a small assessment. It's a small assessment that you will take to make sure that you are in the right place. Some of you may think you need remediation, but when you take that remediation assessment, you are actually okay. You're actually okay. So again, this is about your journey, and this is about correcting areas that we need to correct in the proper time so you can have that license. For some of you, you need to be able to, really get a job and start working. It's time for you to start working. You've been out of school. You're working as a nurse's aide when you should be working as an LPN. Or you're working in a grocery store, but you're really a RN. And that happens to a lot of my international nurses who cannot pass NCLEX. All right. So you're gonna start about remediation, And then you are going to look at the 5 mistakes that need remediation. And these are, if you are doing these things, content, you need remediation. All right. If you failed at 85, you need remediation. If you have a context issue, and I really like to talk about context because it is one of those unspoken struggles. Okay. So, for example, if you have a patient, this is one of my most commonly used examples of content. Here's how you know if you struggle with context. Context. You have a patient, they are on a blood thinner and they're going for surgery. Okay? They're on a blood thinner, they're going for surgery. Do you give them the blood thinner before surgery? Yes or no? You have a patient, they're taking a blood thinner and they're about to go for surgery. Do they get that blood thinner before surgery? Oh, I see a lot of people saying no, 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 no. Okay. So the answer is no. Now, what about this? Okay, because you said no. I agree with you. Now, what about this? You have a patient and they just got a mechanical heart valve replaced. Okay. In their heart, 3 weeks ago, they just got a mechanical heart valve placed and they're going for surgery. Do you give them the blood thinner for the heart valve? Okay. Is that yes or no? Okay. And this is how NCLEX gets a lot of people because they will shift that context. So if the patient had a mechanical heart valve placed 3 weeks ago and they're going for surgery, do we give them blood thinners? Okay. All right. So people are saying yes. Some people are saying no. Some people are saying yes. People are saying no. Before surgery, what do you guys say? Okay. A lot of people change their answer to yes, but the answer is still no. Okay. The answer is still no. And so what I want to say to you is that we have to address these issues. We have to address these issues because context is different from content. Oh, okay. All right. And so during remediation, you're going to look at context, content. What else do we have? We have wrong priority, second guessing, overthinking. These need remediation. These are things that need remediation. Even if you've been out of school for a very long time, say you've been out of school for 2 years. I have students that have never taken NCLEX. They just graduated and they never took NCLEX. They just never, I don't know, life got busy. They just didn't turn in their paperwork. And sometimes they will message me like, hey, I've been out of school for a year and I never took NCLEX. Do I need to do remediation? Yeah, you need to do remediation. You've been out of school for a year. Do the remediation. So remediation is a very, it helps you extremely. And one more thing, that you can do this for free on my website. Your learning preferences. You need to know as an adult learner your learning preferences. Okay, it's very important that you know your learning preferences. So when you are you're on the website, okay, go to remarnurse.com. You can sign up for remediation there. Okay, you can sign up for remediation right there. NCLEX RN, NCLEX PN, remediation is going to come with every course. But your learning preferences, you can do on my site for free. If you sign up for a free account, you can know your learning preferences because you should know that. Are you a reader writer? You learn things by writing it down. That's me. I have to make a list or I won't remember what I'm even doing for the next, like I need a list for my day. When I go to a class, I want to see the agenda. I need to see it. I need to read it. Okay. So are you a reader writer? Are you an audio learner? Okay. And all these things are so important. Okay, everybody, all these things are so important because at the end of the day, it is your responsibility it is your responsibility to, whether you get this training or not, to help you be successful. Okay? Whether you get this training, help me be successful. Are you a kinesthetic learner? Okay? There's assessments on my site that will help you to identify it. But I just popped on here to talk about remediation. I hope this session helped you. I promise I will get more available for this general discussion of Q&A. But membership, guys, membership is where we do the work. So if you need ReMar remediation, hit up the website, remarnurse.com. Sign up for that remediation. Use the coupon code LOVE. That will take $100 off of all the remediations for NCLEX RN, NCLEX PN. I hope to see you guys. I got to go now. I got another class to do, but I hope to see you guys inside of the training. Have a good day. Bye-bye.